So we're going to talk about two very important things. One of them is setting examples, how to set good examples, and then the other one is how to deal with low performers. Now, setting examples, as I said earlier, as a leader, you have a loudspeaker on your actions. Everyone's watching, and they just would emulate straight up what you are doing yourself. Now, there are ways of setting examples that people can copy paste easily. That's how you multiply your impact. One great example of that is, say, folks do not know how to write an integration test because they haven't used this framework. It's very complicated. What you can do as a TL, and that's where you being that 10x coder comes in handy, is that you can set up the first example which follows the right patterns, style guide for sure, what type of validations to do in that test, how to structure the test names, how to name variables. Once you set that up, people are going to copy paste that pattern so fast, right? And if you create a wrong pattern in the first place, that's also going to get copied, right? So that's where, as a TL, you want to set really good examples when it comes to writing code, when it comes to how you behave in a meeting. Say, if you're panicking, yeah, people would get panicked. If you're stressed out, people would get stressed out too. So that leads me to this other part where, as a leader, emotional regulation is sometimes important. Being frustrated, being stressed, all these negative, hard emotions, they impact the morale of the team. So you want to be a little bit careful, but it should not come at the cost of authenticity, and that's when truly regulating your emotions and keeping the morale high, being positive, helps, right? If you practice that, you become that eventually. Now, on setting examples, if you're working late at night, you set up an example where the team might feel that they should also be working hard and longer hours, right? And you can work at night. It's pretty simple to just not create activity, not send chat messages, schedule them for, later next day, or schedule your emails. So with these simple tricks, you can be setting up good examples as well. Next up, let's talk about low performers. And look, you'll be there at this point of time at some, you'll be here at some point of time in your career as a TL. I have been here a few times. It's always hard. It's very frustrating. And personally, I acted very immaturely the first time I encountered this. But it happens, quite often. So this is where being a mature TL comes in handy. And what a mature TL would do is they would try to debug it first. You lead with curiosity and you figure out what is going on. And low performers are not always just they are, they're not good at their job. That's a problem sometimes, but very few times. The most common problems when you debug something like this is you'll find out that they don't like this work, or they don't have a synergy with the project. This type of work doesn't match their values, or they think that this will not get them promoted, or they think that this is not important to anybody. Hey, nobody's asking for this. Why should I do it? So you gotta dig a little bit deeper to figure out what's going on. And then there's time to give up as well. One thing you want to keep doing through this process as you debug and give chances to a person is keep your manager or keep the stakeholders in the loop, but not you are not asking them to step in. So what I would do is, when I notice something, I communicate and I say that, hey, look, this is happening and I'm trying to take care of it in this and that way. And if it becomes a bigger problem, I'll come to you. The advantage of doing that is when it actually becomes a really big problem, your manager has already heard about it and they know that, you are not overreacting. You have tried your typical approaches of fixing it. And you can do this with, other things as well, like some cross-functional stakeholders that are not behaving the way you want them to, or someone's not being collaborative. So this approach applies to many things, not only just like low performers. You also want to document things sometimes, like when you eventually want your manager to do something about it, it'll come in handy if you have some evidence which is like direct, and it should be concrete that, hey, I asked them to do this as is available in these meeting notes, and this was the expectation, they didn't do this, blah blah blah, whatever, right? So paper trail's good. I know that sometimes things are informal, might not need it. In general, it's a good practice.